You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
This is Storm Thomas.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Rotunda, also known as IRS, Erwin Shyster, formerly with WWF.
I am the unsolved mystery JT Energy.
This is Lars Metzger.
This is Almighty Christopher Daniel.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your golden boy, Bryce Jordan.
This is the world's greatest pop icon, Donnie Pepper Cricket, sometimes known as the Dundee Strangler, Brandon Juarez.
Hey everybody, this is Rip Studwell.
Hello everybody, it's Ethan Everhart.
What is up, wrestling world? This is the resident rock star of Impact Pro Wrestling, Adam Love. Woo!
It's the Cornbelt Cowboy, the one called Manders, and you're listening to Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Shotgun Wrestling Radio. I'm your host, Zach Takis, and tonight I am very excited for my guest that I have on tonight as we are getting ready for the first Madhouse Wrestling show of 2024. Madhouse Wrestling is getting ready to kick off its 2024 season, and this man that I have on with me right now, I saw for the very first time at a Madhouse show last year, and I said, when I saw you last year at that show, I said, that's the guy I need to get on the podcast at some point in the next year or so, and I'm very excited that I get to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the one and the only Mr. Connor Hopkins. Man, it is, like I said, I'm excited to see you because I saw you at the last show that was in the Cedar Rapids area. I believe it was like October or November of last year that you were on that show, and I remember saying to Clint Dye, I'm like, that Hopkins kid is damn good. So, like, and I said it to Luke Raven multiple times too, man. You just legit blew me. It was my first time seeing you, and you legit just blew me away that night.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was my first time at Madhouse, and it was really nice how that crowd really took to me. Like, that's really my kind of crowd. So, yeah, it's great. I'm glad to know all of the new people now because of Madhouse.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I've really appreciated about Madhouse. They've done really great at bringing in new talent that we might not have heard of, along with mixing in a few other of the regulars here in the Iowa independent scene. And, you know, something I like to ask all my guests, doesn't matter how long you guys have been in the business, you know, how did you get started in the business? Were you always a fan growing up? And, like, where did you go about to do your training at?
Yeah, so I was always a fan growing up. You know, I did the usual stuff. I trampoline wrestled in my backyard and da-da-da-da. To make a, you know, the average pro wrestling story, I guess, short, friend of mine, Bailey Bright, now known as Florida Man, I went to high school with him. He introduced me to this school called ZOWA, ZOWA, out of like Sterling-ish, Rock Falls, Illinois area, but does a lot all over northern Illinois mostly. But yeah, so I trained there, was trained by Christian Rose, among a few other folks. And then, yeah, I started training, let me see, the week after I graduated from high school is when I started training. And yeah, the rest they say is history.
Now, who were some of your favorites growing up as a kid that you just like really looked up to and you were like, man, if I could ever do this, that's somebody I would like to idolize my in-ring style by?
Yeah, I think an early one for me was Chris Jericho really stood out to me, and Shawn Michaels, because I kind of came into wrestling, you know, around the time that they started doing their feud. But yeah, Jericho and Shawn were big for me growing up, and then also I got into TNA. You know, quite a bit, and was a really big fan of the Motor City Machine Guns, even as a kid. So, like, yeah, those were definitely some of the guys that I was looking up to.
Again, just great group of guys to look up to. I always tell people Shawn, especially for me, is always a guy I will definitely put anytime I can in my Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmores can change all the time, but I feel like Shawn has always been one for me that consistently comes back to I can't not put him on my Mount Rushmore. But again, so you
Wait,
win.
isn't it Mount Rushmore though, like the permanent thing? Like, because it's
Yes,
etched
but
into stone. Like, it's not, it can't
fair
change all the
point.
time. There's one.
Fair point. Fair point. I never thought of it that way. So that is a good point. But
That's why it's called Mount Rushmore.
so you go through your training, and when you finally have that first match in front of people, what was that feeling like for you? Did you have any type of nerves going through that first match, or what was that feeling like for you?
Um, I was incredibly nervous. Looking back at it, like where I am now, to be nervous about what my first match was, I could do that in my sleep. But we all it all starts somewhere. And my first match was in a used car dealership parking lot in the middle of the summer. I was wearing these ridiculous golden bell bottoms and a gold mask, and was called Golden Boy. And the finish was supposed to be I come off the top rope for the double axe handle, and was supposed to get super kicked in the face. Bang. Classic, easy finish. Because I didn't know shit. And so I jump off the top rope and I get super kicked directly in the balls.
Oh,
1, 2, 3. So I was nervous, and then I was like, wow, I don't think could have gone any worse, and yet I still feel good about it.
I think that right there too kind of tells you that's how you love it. When it
Mm-hmm.
goes worse, but you still come out of it saying, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Came out of it saying, when's the next one?
So I'm gonna go ahead, man. I'm gonna run down a little bit of the card that we have come up here for this Saturday in Knoxville, Iowa. Madhouse Wrestling is making their return. Obviously, we have you versus AK-47. We have the Death Dealer versus the Flatliner AJ O'Callahan. We have Rich Maxwell making his Madhouse debut. Again, another debuting talent from Madhouse Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
We have JT Energy against Nico Klein, Jimmy Wild versus Nick Nolan, and Chillaleo versus the Hale Twins. And again, it's just another stacked lineup for the friends at Madhouse Wrestling, and that venue in Knoxville is such a rad venue. I don't know if you've had a chance to be there yet, but I think you're really gonna love it.
No, I caught them on the tail end of their loop last year, and so I never have been to the Knoxville. I have never been to Knoxville, Iowa, and I was very surprised to find out that it's almost 4 hours away from my home. Genuinely shocked by that. But yeah, no, excited for it. There's like you said, a lot of fresh faces and a lot of names on there that I don't recognize, but I'm excited to see, what's happening on the scene, because I don't really get out much in Iowa because I'm so far north. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great time again. It all goes down this Saturday, Knoxville, Iowa. Madhouse Wrestling making its 2024 season debut. And I know they got a big year planned, and it's going to be some exciting times for our friends here at Madhouse Wrestling. Now, kind of getting back to your beginnings here, man, what was it about wrestling that inspired you to want to get into it? Because we all look at it from a different viewpoint. Me, I'm a smaller guy, so I was like, and at the time I was growing up in the Attitude era, Land of the Giants. I was like, there's no way in hell I could ever get in the ring and do it. And so for me, mine was always behind the scenes. I always loved the behind the scenes stuff. Like, I never, obviously, growing up, podcasting wasn't as big as it is now. So this is really cool for me. And something like commentating, which I've been blessed to be able to do a lot here lately. And so for you being a wrestler standpoint, what was it about it that really inspired you to want to do this?
It's hard to pinpoint one exact thing. It felt more to me like a moment of clarity almost, where I remember like wrestling in the backyard with my friend, in high school or whatever, and talking to him like, hey man, like if you could, would you want to actually like do this? And my best friend growing up, we were super into wrestling, and he was like, Yeah, yeah, maybe that would be pretty cool. And it was like in that instant, I knew when I asked that question, I was like, no, 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 no. Like we're doing this. We are absolutely doing this. I don't know how to explain it other than like it just happened.
Right on, right on. I can definitely respect that. Now, in the time that you've been doing this, do you have a favorite match that you've been involved in so far?
Um, Hard to nail down a favorite, I will say that like I think my work in like summer and fall, like summer to late last year, there was a lot of really great stuff, including like my match with Mike Bennett, which is like a very much personal favorite of mine. Like it's top five and it ain't number five. Uh, yeah, Mike Bennett was really cool.
Is that available on YouTube anywhere? Because I'm a big Mike Bennett fan. I can only imagine that you two tore it up.
It is on IWTV, Dreamwave Wrestling.
Okay, okay. Oh yeah, Dreamwave, of course, of course. I
Yeah.
do love. I love seeing guys like Mike. I feel like he's come back to the Midwest scene here a lot more over the last several years. I mean, he's had great matches with Jay Fowler up and down the Midwest, and just he's that's the one thing I've really loved about him is just his willingness to keep coming back to the Midwest. Like he's really adopted the Midwest here in the last couple years.
You want to talk about loving wrestling? Mike Bennett loves wrestling. And I have had an unofficial ongoing feud with him in Dreamwave since like I don't know, June.
Yeah, we actually had Mike Bennett on our podcast. I want to say like 2017, 2018 era when he was still in Ring of Honor doing the Ring of Honor thing. And he at the time was one of our absolute favorite guests. Because like you said, you could just tell that dude just loved wrestling and he was just super cool to talk to. And I talked to him a couple years ago at the Hall of Fame show in Waterloo. He made an appearance there, and even
Yeah.
his wife Maria is just both of those two are some of the nicest people you will ever meet in this business.
Yeah, they are small town friendly. Like they are the best people. Mike, like we beat the shit out of each other, and it's a weird enjoyment thing. I think for both of us. I think we don't like each other. We like beating the shit out of each other.
That's what makes good friendships though.
Exactly.
So another thing I like to ask, you guys being wrestlers are on the road all the time, whether it be driving from show to show, flying around, or whatever it is, any means of travel that you guys do. What do you do in the car as far as helping pass time? Like, what are you listening to, or are you guys just sitting there? Do you have somebody that you love traveling with that you like to shoot the shit with, or what's your travel routine typically like?
Well, it depends on what direction I'm heading. So a lot of times, if I'm heading south or I'm doing anything in Illinois or St. Louis or whatever, I'm riding with the Coyotes the entire time. I drive down from God's country and then I hop in with whatever Coyotes I'm riding with. We go with. We talk about deep cut wrestling references. We tell insanely disgusting jokes. Um, just kind of scream at each other for a while and bitch about things. Yeah, it's a very lively car. Uh, if I'm driving a carload, we are absolutely listening to only music that came out before like 2009. Like that is all you are getting is early aughts hits. I've been playing a lot of Tool for people lately.
Nice, nice. I
Yeah,
saw
if you
Tool.
ride with me, here's your headline. Here's your clip. If you ride with Connor Hopkins, there is a 75% chance he is going to make you listen to at least one full Tool album.
You would be my father-in-law's favorite person. My father-in-law's favorite band is Tool, and we actually took him to see Tool here a couple years ago, and I mean it was an awesome show. The thing I really respected about them, I don't know if you've had the privilege of seeing them, but they actually make people shut their phone, like put their phones away. Like they will kick people out if they see you with your phone. And I'm like, damn, that was actually a really enjoyable experience. Like, and it's funny because I'm like, it almost makes you wish more bands would have the balls to do that. Like they always say like, and Tool is the other thing that made it great, like their last little bit of their set there, like the final two songs, they say, okay, now you can take your phones out and do whatever. But for the most part, for your whole set, if they see you with your phone, you're out.
Yeah. I respect it. I love it.
Yeah, it was one of the coolest experiences. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it first, but I'm like, after a while, I'm like, we're all kind of looking at each other. I'm like, damn, this is pretty freaking cool. So now, do you have another thing I like to ask everybody, because we all have different opinions on this matter? Do you have a favorite match that wasn't yours that you can always go back to watching? Like, say you're in a bad mood, or you're having a bad day, this match you can throw on and just, it's instantly going to just put you in that really gratifying mood.
Yeah, Samoa Joe versus the Necro Butcher, IWA Mid-South 06.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it ain't even close, man. Like, have you ever seen Samoa Joe versus the Necro Butcher?
I don't believe I have, but I might have to check that out now.
It's on YouTube, my man.
All right.
After this podcast, you watch it and then add your reaction, with what you think afterwards, because I gotta know. But yeah, it's that's my like comfort match. I just throw that on because it's insane and it's great and I love it so much.
It's actually the first, if you type in Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher, it's actually the first one that comes up on YouTube. So yeah, that'll be nice and easy for me to pop on here after we're done for the night. So
it sure would be.
What is for you your pre-match routine? Are you listening to me? Obviously, you're talking to your opponent about what you guys are going to do out there, but do you have any like weird routines that you feel like you always have to do? Like, are you superstitious in that kind of way?
No, not really. I, growing up, I was always an athlete, so I've got a really just like athlete mindset about it. So like, I got to make sure that I'm moving, that I'm limber. I usually do a bunch of squats and Hindu push-ups and whatever. Try to get breathing heavy, try to get a sweat going. Other than that, no, not really any pre-match rituals. I, maybe have a few beers or a couple beers and some shots and, whatever. Have a good time in the locker room, tell a few jokes, and go have a match.
Do you prefer to be a heel or a baby face when you're working?
Oh, both have their merits. I like being a heel because I get to say really despicable things, and that's fun. And I don't. The nice thing about being a babyface is that it is really hard to make people like you. So if you can be a good babyface, it means you know how to control a crowd. Like, you know how to get that reaction from a crowd. That's not like, there are exceptions to that rule, obviously, but like, yeah, it's easy to make people hate you. You can walk out and say, oh, I hate insert town name here. I'm going to sleep with your wife. Cheap heat, that's easy. So like, being a baby face and actually like being a good baby face is, I think, the harder thing to do.
Isn't it amazing that all these years later, like those cheap heat things still amazingly work really, really well?
Oh yeah, it's just playing to the lowest common denominator. Who's never heard of the Green Bay Packers? Like,
well, it's like God, we even saw The Rock doing the freaking cheap heat thing on TV recently too, and I just kind of, where he's going after the town crowds, I'm like, damn, he's going for some cheap heat tonight, and it's working.
yeah, well, I mean, that was always Rock's thing though. Like, going back for ages, he's just old school brother, like, Attitude Era. The Rock's promos, here's a controversial opinion, aren't that great. He just kind of buries people and goes just really low for no good reason ever.
You're not the first person I've heard say that, so you're definitely not like on an ocean of people who don't think The Rock's promos are all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
So, do you have a post-match like meal that you like to grab when you're? I know when you guys are driving home late, sometimes there's not always the best food options. But if you are able to get something, what's your post-match go-to meal?
When it's warm enough outside, Checkers is a big one.
Okay.
I don't really like. It's just whatever's open, you know. A lot of times it's gas station or hey, the pizza place at home is open until 2. Like we can make it back and just order a pizza, you know. But like if I had to pick a favorite, it would be Checkers. That's the Coyotes go to. We're always going to a Checkers.
What's your all-time favorite movie?
Oh, Jesus. Getting to know me.
Yeah.
All-time favorite, it's kind of a toss-up, but they're pretty much the same. It's a toss-up between Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes. Excellent choices. Excellent choices. Cannot disagree with you there anymore.
What if I would have said like Saw 6?
Well, that would have been probably the most random of the franchise to actually pick, especially being that late in the franchise. So, all right, I know you said you're a big Tool fan. What's your favorite Tool album that you think if somebody's gonna tell you what Tool album should I go introduce myself to, what would you tell them?
The problem with Tool is they're not a super approachable band, so any entry point is going to be real. Like you got to either be all in or you're not going to have a good time. I would say though, the easiest one, the first one that I really liked, would be Anima, 92, I think. That's pretty good. That has like Stinkfist on it and some other bangers. Some weird shit in there, but like it's good Tool fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you there more either. If you're gonna get into Tool, you definitely, like you said, have to be all in. There's no really in between when it comes to them, but it's still a lot of fun. As a bass player myself, I'm a big fan of the bass playing on all those albums. It's just so smooth and just it sounds absolutely incredible on every album they've ever made.
Yeah.
So as we're kind of wrapping things up here, do you have a dream match that's on your bucket list that you would love to absolutely have that you haven't yet?
Jimmy Jacobs. Give me Jimmy Jacobs. Whoever's got the money to do it, I don't care that he works for Tony Khan now. I want that match.
And another thing, what is for you the best? Obviously, you've been in this a long enough time now that you've probably met a lot of legends like Mike Bennett, and I'm sure you've met others amongst his genre there. What's been the best advice that you've received so far from any of those guys, if you're willing to share it with us?
God, there's a lot of really great little tidbits that you pick up over the years. I think one of my favorite ones is the ultimate truth in wrestling is that sooner rather than later, that bell has to ring. Which means like, yeah, man, put a lot of work into your presentation, put a lot of work into the gimmick idea and whatever, once you know how to wrestle. Because sooner or later, that bell has to ring.
Absolutely wonderful advice there for any fellow wrestler who's listening to this podcast right now. And again, you've had the likes of facing great talent from all over the place, whether it be Mike Bennett or this weekend's AK-47, another fantastic. I think last time you were at Madhouse, you faced Ethan Everhart, if I'm not mistaken, I believe.
Did I? Yeah, no. I Uncle T, Solomon Tupu.
That's right.
Big
Yep.
Moose.
Okay. Yep. Ethan was on the same show as you, and for some reason I thought you two faced each other. But that's another match I'll have to talk to Luke Raven about booking you, because I think you and Ethan would have a hell of a match
Well,
together.
that was the first match that I had at Madhouse. That's how I came into the territory, brother.
Okay, well there you go. There you go. Do you have a current favorite opponent, somebody that you know you can just go in there with, and it's going to be a night off for you?
Me and Hartenbauer is always easy. He's like my arch nemesis for life. It's always really, really easy working with guys who have been around forever. Like Vic Capri is just, it's a night off working with Vic. Those are the two that I always think are standouts.
And for folks that would like to be able to follow you, where should they follow you at on all the social medias?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Connor Hopkins 98, or just go to Linktree, C Hopkins 98. That has all my stuff on it. I have a Teespring, chmerch.com, thosedamncoyotes.com. You can find me all over the internet, wherever wrestling is to be had.
And where are your next upcoming shows that you got for the next couple weeks?
Well, so Madhouse this weekend, Wrestling's AK-47, and then I'm actually wrapping up my month the weekend after that at St. Louis Anarchy.
Nice. That'll be a lot of fun.
Well, okay, so doing St. Louis Anarchy on Friday the 29th, and then going to WrestleCon in Indianapolis for the Dreamwave booth.
Nice. That'll be really cool. Speaking of events like WrestleCon, and obviously in the wrestling world, we got the big WrestleMania show coming up. Do you have any predictions for WrestleMania, whether it be the two main events, or is there anything that you're looking forward to? Me as a fan, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I feel like WWE's just really been on this wave right now where they're just trending upward, and it's been a lot of fun lately.
I gotta be honest, I don't really keep up with the product. I saw that Chad Gable isn't having that match with Gunther at WrestleMania, and that's just the dumbest fucking move that you could have done. I don't know. I'm excited for what's this tag team ladder match thing? It's gonna be
they're doing a tag team turmoil where it's going to be Priest and Ballard putting their tag team titles on the line in the ladder match against I think 4 or 5 other teams. So I think the only team for now that's qualified is Miz and R-Truth, and then obviously there's open slots that'll get filled out here for the rest of it. But yeah, that one should be a lot of fun too. Kind of goes back to a Money in the Bank era type match for WrestleMania.
Yeah, if they let it be fun, it could be really, really fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited for it. I agree with you on the Chad Gable thing. I know Sammy had said that he was kind of taken aback by why fans, I guess, weren't too excited for his victory. I'm like, well, we kind of all we're all on the Gable bandwagon right now, and we all thought that was the move to go. But it wouldn't shock me to see if Gable still found his way in, especially after they had some sort of confrontation between the two last night on Monday Night Raw. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if Gable somehow finds his way in and it turns into a triple threat.
I remember when WrestleMania was about wrestling moments and feuds that were, the biggest and the best, and not about, I want to get on WrestleMania, so I want to fight you so that I can be on the show. I understand it's an age-old thing, but I don't know, man. If it leads to a Sammy turn, great. They set it up really well. But I'm a big Chad Gable guy. Sammy has already done everything that he could possibly want to do. I don't know. I think Chad Gable should have his WrestleMania moment. I have been invested in Chad Gable for a decade now, and I ain't selling anytime soon.
Absolutely, my man. Absolutely. So again, you can check Connor out this coming weekend at Madhouse Wrestling. I'm going to run down the card for you here one more time. Remember, though, as always, card is subject to change. So we have Connor Hopkins versus ZK47, the Death Dealer versus the Flatliner AJ O'Callahan, Rich Maxwell making his Madhouse debut, JT Energy versus Nico Klein, Jimmy Wild versus Nick Nolan, and Chillalale versus the Hale Twins. For more information on that, head over to Madhouse Wrestling on Facebook, and hopefully we'll see everybody at the show this coming weekend in Knoxville, Iowa for some Madhouse Lands as they begin their 2024 season. Connor, my man, I can't thank you enough for being here with me this week on the show, and yeah, it was a great pleasure. I'm excited to see what you do more here in Madhouse for 2024, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been great being on. JK47, I'm going to dump your dumbass on your head again, just because I can, and I want to. Also, JT Energy, did you know he's a cat now? Bye.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here this week on the show. And until next time, we'll see you right here on the World Wide Web.